So we don't have anyone on yet, but we know they're coming, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
This is new for us here at LifePoint. This is our first official podcast.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I am Donna Jackson.
I'm Amy Clark.
And I'm Samantha Reynolds.
And we are LifePoint Real Estate. And we're going to be talking to you about real estate.
Yep.
The life of experienced agents, the life of a not as experienced agent.
Right.
Experienced, but not as experienced.
Right.
And just, but we're going to wait for some more people to come in, for some people to come in. Again, this is our first official live.
Yep. And these
podcast.
these will be recorded. They will live in perpetuity on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch this later. And of course, you may just pick it up later on the Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Okay.
And so again, I'm Amy Clark. Thanks, welcome. And we will be with you every Wednesday. We're gonna have a series of podcasts coming up. This one is live with LifePoint. Today, we're really talking to anybody who's interested in getting into real estate, anybody who's thought about that, getting into a career, and even some real estate agents who are in the business, maybe newer in the business, and there's a lot going on. There's a little bit of discouragement just based on kind of what's going on with the economy and that kind of thing. So we want to be an encouragement here. We want to have some real talk, but if you've ever considered getting into real estate, this is going to be a really informative time together. So
yes.
Let's just start. And I'm going to kind of do a little bit of interviewing with these guys. So Donna,
yes,
you have been in business for over
25 years.
25 years.
I am. It'll be 26 years in October, and I still.
You're seasoned.
I'm seasoned. That's yes.
You're mature.
I'm mature in this real estate thing.
There
this
you
real estate
go.
game. Yes.
And Samantha, less than
4 years.
Less than 4 years.
In November of 2020.
Excellent.
Mid-pandemic.
Excellent.
Okay.
Mid-pandemic. Oh yeah, that's
what a
hard
time
one.
to enter the market.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask a series of questions to both of you. Let's go ahead and start with you, Donna. So what was it that prompted you to get into real estate back almost 26 years ago?
Ooh, so when I think about, I had purchased my first home. I was working for the federal government.
Okay.
And the whole idea of that process of buying a home, I was living in my aunt and uncle's home. I rented it for a year and then I purchased it. But before I actually pulled the trigger on purchasing that home, I was out with a real estate agent looking at houses.
Yeah.
And that whole process kind of fascinated me.
Okay.
And I thought about it for 2 years before I actually decided to go to school.
Because you had a full-time
I had a full-time gig.
Right.
At the federal government, which, I was working for DFAS and folks was like, yeah, that was a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't fulfilling at all. And so for 2 years, I literally thought about real estate and getting my license.
Okay.
But I didn't want to go back to school. And so I told myself one day, either stop thinking about it or go on and do something about it.
Gotcha.
And so I did.
You did it.
I did it.
Okay. Samantha, tell me your story. How'd you end up here?
Kind of a similar path, just in terms of having a good job and having everything set up. I went to college and got my degree in real estate. It is fascinating. There is something for everybody. So that was what was enticing to me. I actually ended up working in commercial real estate first. But it wasn't fulfilling. It was the same thing.
So you're working for a company?
Yes,
doing...
for a company doing commercial mortgage analysis for loans.
Okay.
So, it was a good job. It laid the foundation for a lot of the work that I'm doing now, but it wasn't like a very personal thing. And I am very personal. So that was my foot in.
But you had a full-time job.
Yeah.
And took a leap.
Yeah. So I was doing it on the side here and there. Yeah, it was like a Tuesday morning. So on Tuesday morning, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be chained to this desk anymore. I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and that, that kind of 9-to-5 life just wasn't for me. So I had tried to build the business beforehand, so I wasn't just stepping out with no money, with no prospects.
Yeah, you had a plan.
But it definitely, coming up on the 1 year of quitting that job almost to the day, it's been a big life change, and it's fulfilling. So that's the biggest thing.
Awesome.
So when, I've been in real estate about 22 years. So I've watched all the, many seasons and changes in real estate. Describe for folks what it was like when you entered and when you entered, because these are very different. I mean, while real estate is the same, essentially it's the same process, right? We're helping sellers sell, buyers buy, representing them through the process. But what it looks like today, what it looks like 4 years ago, and what it looked like 26 years ago. So what was it like entering into this?
Well, for me, entering in was technology was not as advanced as it is right now.
You had a fax machine?
I went. That was like my first purchase. I went because what's ironic is I was living on the South Side. Okay. My first office was
that sounds like a song or something.
Yeah, was in Westerville. Okay. And so when I needed to do something, I was driving back and forth or driving downtown to Kinko's to fax something. Okay. And so my first purchase was a fax machine. And so it was also a different market as far as it was a buyer's market. And
well, tell me about that, because right now, anybody watching this, you're used to seeing properties online.
Yes.
That was not.
Well, when I came on, that had just changed over. And so even though we did still have the books. We still had the books. But at that point, the books were outdated because you go and you look at a book, and by the time the book is actually printed, those properties are already gone. Yeah. And so I was right on the end of the phasing out, or the beginning of the phasing out of the books.
Yeah, and that was putting all the properties online for the first time. Right. I remember agents being so upset that they were going to lose their books. Yeah. Like there was such a pushback against technology then. And you're thinking, how in the world would you, why would you have preferred books that are 2 weeks outdated and you're literally looking through a catalog to see what house you want to see? Mm-hmm. And can I tell you, there was no MapQuest.
Right, no.
So we had books, we had map books. And so I remember what would happen. You'd be driving along and then you hit a road closure. What do you do?
Right.
I don't know. I can't really read a map. I just had printed, it was MapQuest, and you could print
right
step by step or turn by turn. But then if you get a roadblock, you're
exactly
SOL, because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can't read a map.
Right.
So it was very different.
It was very different.
Keys, did you have the key boxes?
We did not have the we did have the electronic key boxes. Okay. Yeah, we had the electronic key boxes. But that was also the age of putting advertising in the newspaper.
True.
And we don't do any in the magazines and stuff like that. Yeah.
So when my parents, they were part-time real estate agents when I was younger, and there weren't key boxes. So you would drive to go pick up a key from the brokerage, go show your house, bring the key back. Right. So the speed at which, even probably 25, 26 years ago, 22 years ago, the speed at which you could do business was slower than it is right now. Right now. Okay, Samantha, you hit the ground running in
2020.
2020. Yes. What was it like?
The only market I've ever known is a very aggressive seller's market. So, for me, it was either figure out a way to get the deal done or get out of this business. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the reality of a lot of agents that are my age, because we don't have the years of experience. But I do think it brings the need to be more efficient. It brings the need to be more adaptable. It brings the need to bring better customer service, because 9 times out of 10, a house that you could send to a client, they've already seen. Yeah. So what value do I bring? I need to be able to help them win the deal. Mm-hmm. And so my entire experience has been a very aggressive, for sure. Very, you must work hard to get it done. But in turn, I find that my clients respect that. Mm-hmm. I think that there's, with all of the technology, there is a need to show your value. Yeah. And I think that in this type of market, I've had the opportunity to show my value.
Yeah, so it was trial by fire,
literally.
Well, great. So here's the thing. When you look at all the decades or whatever, couple decades of doing business, a balanced market really was more about I remember it being a 120-day market. So you could expect, if you were going to list your house,
6 months.
Expect, 120 to 180 days. Yes. And that was normal, and nobody panicked.
Mm-mm.
So you entered into a market when if a house was on the market for 3 days and no offers, you're
what
am I doing wrong?
My very first listing, I was like, what do you mean weekend 2? Like, this is a travesty. I am so bad at this, but you know, it's a lot of trial and error, especially when you're a very fresh agent, to try and do something in this market, either on the sales side or the buy side, because you know, even as a seller's agent, you have to be aggressive in responding to those offers.
Exactly.
You have 4 hours to present and respond to some of these offers.
Right.
And it's, you know, I think learning how to balance that with protecting your client is hard, because you can get caught up in the speed of the transaction.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to you first. Okay. When you entered into real estate, you had certain expectations. I'm sure we all do, right?
Yeah.
In what areas were your expectations met? And in what areas where you're like, whoa, I didn't expect this?
Yeah, I think the gravity of the job and how important it is an expectation that was met.
Okay, so you did go in, because I'll tell you, we have people, let me tell you, we have people that come to us and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. Can I sit down with you? And any one of us, you know, we've sat down, whether together or separately, and inevitably they sit down and they go, and I say, well, why do you want to get into real estate? Well, I love people and I love houses. And then I have them do a personality test, and there's no drive, right, in the personality, and there's no detail orientation. And I'm telling you, you gotta have loving people and loving houses won't do that. You know what I mean? Like I did your personality test. I know. I know what yours was. But that was like, if someone thinks it's easy, they find very quickly how hard it is. So if I heard you right, you entered in expecting it to be a job.
Yeah, and I think that that's just my specific background working in commercial real estate, where it wasn't personal at all. It was numbers driven. If the numbers don't work, we don't do it. Or we need to find another solution so that the numbers work. And this is completely different, because it's an emotional piece of somebody's life. And so that part of that job that I didn't like was fully the reason that I transitioned out of it. It's not a numbers game at the end of the day. It's a personal transaction. And that was one of the main drivers for me to leave my job, even though made good money, had all the things, the good benefits, but it wasn't that personal for people.
Okay, anything that stick out as like, wow, I didn't expect this? Any surprise, like any one thing that feels a little surprising?
Honestly, I think it's the corners that people will cut to get a deal closed.
Not our people.
Not our people, but not our people. But right. I think that just coming across a lot of agents who maybe had not as much education, or they're not having as much guidance, because it is a very fast market. I think that is definitely a detriment to the industry as a whole.
And I see the mistakes.
Yeah, and I'm running across that the more deals that I'm doing, and it's a reality. Whereas, like, you know, the ones I've done while I was working my other job, they all by happenstance went pretty smoothly. Like this, you know, the more you're exposed to it, that is surprising because it is so important.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys can hear the sirens out of windows, but okay. So Donna, where did it meet your expectation, and were there any like major surprises when you were like, "Wow, didn't think this"?
I think for me, what it met the expectation was just the satisfaction of being able to control what I do on a day-to-day basis. But with that being said, I also realized that because I came from working from the federal government, I didn't quit my job until I was probably 7 years into real estate.
So you tried to balance it all.
Yeah, I was trying to balance it all, but then the more I was there, the more I didn't like my job, and I felt like I needed to do this.
But it's hard to take the leap. Like anybody that's considering this full time, like you counted the cost, Samantha, before you know, but you had another income.
Right.
Donna's, you were the sole income.
Yeah, I was the sole income.
Okay.
And when
shout out to my husband.
I'm still looking for my husband.
Oh no, we're gonna get a bunch of comments now. They're gonna be like,
when I told my dad and my mom that I was leaving my job, my dad was like, "Oh, you're not about to leave that good government job." I was like, "Yeah, I am. I don't like that government job."
Yeah.
And so that was the thing. I've been satisfied. It took me a while to get the income far surpassed the income that I was making working for the federal government. I knew that I could. It just was going to take some time, but I was determined that I was not going back there, and I wanted to make this happen.
Well, and the reason is because the best thing about this job is it's all on you.
It's all on me.
But the worst thing about this job is
it's all on me.
All on you.
It's all on me.
Do you know what I mean? So
because honestly that was the scary part, because at the time that I did leave, I was married.
Gotcha.
But I was soon divorced.
Right.
And so I was back to doing this all on solely relying on just myself. Yeah.
Yep. All right. What do you
wait a minute. There was a two-part question to
What's
that.
your surprise?
So, and I'm going to say this to anyone who is actually thinking about getting into the real estate business. For me, it was taxes. And you're working a regular 9 to 5.
Oh, everything's taken care of.
Everything's taken care of for you. When you start getting those commission checks in, and you see that dollar sign and those numbers behind that, you have to be responsible for paying your own taxes. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, when you want to buy a house and you realize that you've written off all of your income, you may have made this amount, but how much did you actually claim? And so that was the balance, the surprise.
April
aspect.
is my favorite month.
Well, you know what? It's running your business like a business.
Running your business like a business. That's right.
There are a lot of agents who don't run their business like a business. I was one of them. So when my husband, shout out Brett Clark. Oh, it's husband shout out day. And she's still looking
one
for
day, it's coming. Keep hope alive.
But Brett came on board and he would ask me things like, what do you got, closing this next month? I don't know. How much you close here? I don't know. Like, I was so focused on just meeting the people, serving the people. Like, I didn't really look at numbers. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's a very, altruistic way to look at this is, look, I'm just serving the people. The money will take care of itself. Well, that's a good altruistic value system, but it isn't actually running a business. So I think that's where, he came in and put the business,
together,
behind it. And so you do need to run your business like a business.
That's right.
So any of you agents out there, even current agents, where you're like, well, I don't know. Okay. You should probably know.
You should know.
Okay. So here's, we're doing great. So here's a couple questions. AI. AI, right? So I look at, I don't know, you read stuff here and there, and of course they aren't real estate companies or real estate agents saying it, but you might read some, virtual real estate is the wave of the future. Real estate agents will become obsolete. AI this, AI that. Here's the question. Being in this, are we replaceable by AI?
No. What AI, in my opinion, can replace for me is we've been talking about it. There's a lot. I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a creative writer or wordsmith, and so I use AI in that arena to help me craft a letter or a great description or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But as far as that personal aspect, AI can't replace the value that my clients get from me,
right.
The respect that they get from me, the attention that they get from me.
Right.
No, that AI
it's
and
not just all data. It's not
just data. That's right.
Here's a form.
That's right.
It is like, to me, the thing that was, I think, most surprising very quickly in my career is I realized I'm a counselor. Bartenders, hairdressers, real estate agents. Like I have taken people through the highest points in their life, the lowest points in their life, the challenging, like through every season of their life. Yeah. And that human element
cannot be replaced by AI.
Cannot be replaced.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
You, Samantha, are doing a lot with first time buyers, but first time, what do you call them? Resident. Help me. I'm being very, I don't know the words. You work with a lot of first time, I'm thinking First Nation people, but that's American.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, so first generation. Yes, Hispanic Americans.
There you go. Okay, let me try this.
She was trying to be politically correct.
You work a lot with first generation Spanish speaking Americans and first time homebuyers.
Yes.
That cannot be replaced with a virtual agent on a virtual brokerage doing, talk about that a little bit.
I think that there is a need to stay in front of AI instead of pretending it's not here?
Exactly.
How can we use this?
Right.
How can we
to benefit us?
How can I spend more time explaining to my client the ins and outs of this process and less time on something else that AI could do for me?
Mm-hmm.
How do I use this to gear my time more towards my clients?
Right.
And
not a replacement.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
How
Right,
can
right.
I benefit my clients by adapting to this change? Same thing with putting your listings online.
Exactly.
You know, 20 plus years ago.
Right.
How must I adapt to this change in order to
Right.
benefit my clients?
Yep.
And I think it's a similar thought process. I think it's the way that fashion comes in and out. There's always going to be changes, but
Yeah.
I think that adapting in this market is important. I've never not known the world of Redfin and Zillow.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
for me, it's how do I use that to make sure that I'm connecting with my clients instead of
Yeah.
pretending it's not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that even just working with multi-generational Hispanic families too, yes, they need me more than my American clients do. But the thing that I find is that the appreciation and the necessity for my service at the end of the day is always valued.
Right.
And I think that with AI, I can only serve more clients by using that time more wisely.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And can't be replaced.
That was good.
So our mission statement at LifePoint Real Estate was written very intentionally, and it's meeting each person at their unique point in life to guide them from where they are
To where,
to where
they want to be.
Because we just knew, and you can read it in some of our literature, like everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and this is just part of their
Mhm.
story. So entering into that story, being a part of their story, working with them one-on-one or with their family, and that personal touch is huge.
It
And,
is huge.
So the future of real estate is always going to contain the human element.
Yes,
So
it
again,
has
if you're
to.
interested in looking at this as a career, you can certainly reach out to us. You can reach out on the Facebook page, or we're easy to find online.
Mhm.
So it's LifePoint Real Estate in Westerville, Ohio. And you do need to be in Ohio. We're not licensed outside of Ohio.
No, we are not.
Well,
Not
you
yet.
know what? And honestly, even if you're a licensed agent with another company,
Oh,
we
yeah.
are more than happy to help you, to give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. We're here to help
Right.
you be the best that you can be, because what is that saying? A rising tide lifts all the ships.
That's right.
So regardless of where you work, where you are licensed, we're happy to be a resource, because the better you are, the better we are, the better our industry is, and the more we can.
We
serve our
have
clients,
a
so.
question.
Oh, gotcha. What is it?
Can AI run accurate
Comps.
comps for you?
Okay, can I answer this?
Sure.
Sure.
Here's the thing: Zillow's AI,
And
you can get a Zestimate. But here's the issue: there are, how can Zillow or a Zestimate or an AI see where the actual micro of
Right.
where is this place
And they
located?
can't, and that's why
it doesn't see a neighborhood. It doesn't see
doesn't.
the railroad tracks in the backyard.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't see the
Mm-mm.
self-out.
Nope.
self-
It doesn't
self-
see the exterior damage to the house.
right.
And I'll add to that, just saying that it can't see a real-time negotiation. It can't
No.
see. It can only see 2 weeks or 4 weeks in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if I know that you had a listing in Westerville that's in contract over ask, but AI doesn't know that,
True.
I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with my list price, because
Mhm.
I know that the market's heating up
Ex-
probably
right.
2 to 4 weeks
Yeah.
Right,
faster
right.
than AI does.
It's macro view. So in answer to that question, it's a macro view. Like, we've got a site that NAR drives some of the data, and it's just so broad. So we do use this. What did the auditor say?
Right.
What does the NAR data say, which is on, what is it called? RPR.
Yeah.
Yes, RPR.
And then we can look at, I wouldn't, but I mean, someone could look at Zillow. I would not. But ultimately, you're going to look at that big picture, but you've got to do the micro, the hyper local look, and AI cannot
Mm-mm.
do that. I had a situation where it was like 2-bedroom, 1 bath in, I think it was like Morrow County or something like that. And somebody called me with a Zestimate. Well, one was a trailer and one was a stick-built home,
Mm-hmm.
but it couldn't tell.
It couldn't tell the difference.
So good question. Great question.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can't replace.
Yeah. And to that, I just had an example. I went to met with a seller last week, and when I got to the house, cute little ranch, but it was very dated, and he said that his bank told him his house was worth $267,000. And I was like, oh, I wonder where they got that from. So I go, put in his address, popped up Zillow, and that's Zestimate. I said, oh, okay, I know where they got that from. However,
it's not
that's accurate. Right. And so it is what it is.
And that's on the flip side too. That could be, this says that my house is worth $265 when I know that the renovations that I put into it that have never been put in the internet have not, they're not being accounted for. Right. So sometimes you can sell yourself short by, using that as a guideline for that.
You need a realtor that can dig deep into the research and really give you a good estimate.
Well, and you need a real estate agent, hopefully, that is abreast of the local market.
Right.
So, I'm not going to dilly-dally. I could sell a house in Cleveland, but I'm not going to.
Right.
I don't know that market.
Exactly.
I know my market.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yep.
All right. We are at 4:00, so we are done for today. Samantha's going to hang tight here, and we'll ask our producer if we can just keep the live stream. Don't know, or if he's going to pause for a second.
He's going to pause it for a second.
He's going to pause it for a second. But Samantha's going to come back on because she's going to introduce. She's going to be doing a Spanish speaking segment at 4:00 every Wednesday, because we really do want to help that entire niche of clientele or potential buyers and sellers. And she's got certainly special expertise in that area. So she'll be on in just a couple minutes to introduce her session. And but it was great hanging with you guys. It was.
Thanks for hanging with us for our first official
Thank you for the
podcast.
questions.
And thanks for the questions, guys.
Yes. Awesome.